We made the joke last week that the biggest news was Final Cut coming to the iPad. Final Cut and Logic did actually come to the iPad, and we do actually want to talk about it a little bit because it is pretty cool. We're going to try this when we get our hands on both of these apps, but the news is Final Cut Pro has finally come to the iPad Pro. We've been saying, how can you call it a Pro iPad if it has no Pro apps? Well, here is Final Cut Pro, and is Logic called Logic Pro also, or is it just Logic?
It's Logic Pro.
It's
Final
Logic
Cut
Pro.
Pro and Logic Pro.
Okay, so Pro apps come to the Pro iPad. But also more than just the Pro iPad. It's all of the Apple Silicon iPads and even the A12Z iPad just for Logic.
Yeah.
But Final Cut Pro is M1 or later.
Okay,
which includes iPad Air.
So it's not just the Pro iPads.
It's not just the Pro iPads.
So,
but it's definitely including the Pro iPads because you can't call it a Pro iPad with no Pro apps.
But I feel like that saying's totally done if then you also put it on the non-Pro versions.
Yeah, it kind of deflates that a little bit. But, we were looking forward to this. We've been asking about this.
Yeah.
So the real questions as we look at these web pages, honestly, for me, number one is feature parity between the iPad version of Final Cut Pro and the Mac version of Final Cut Pro that we've been using for so long. And then the other number two biggest difference is pricing. So I guess we'll do feature parity first. I, right now, edit in Final Cut Pro every single video that we make. And Mariah also edits in Final Cut Pro for MKBHD videos. And what we have to do to get Final Cut Pro to see red footage is we need a plugin. It's called the Red Workflow Installer. And it gets installed on the Mac, and it's a plugin for Final Cut Pro on the Mac. And if you don't have that plugin, it can't see or import any of the media that we shoot. Can I do that on the iPad? I don't know.
Big question mark.
Big question mark. There appears to be some sort of plugins that Apple is making, and maybe that means there will be plugins for Final Cut Pro for the iPad. But I don't think, this is me speculating, I don't think that Final Cut plugins on the Mac will work on the iPad. And so then the next question is, if I have a project that I'm working on one of them, can I move it to the other, and will everything work? So will all my fonts, will all my titles, will all my transitions stay? Probably. But will my plugins stay? Probably not. So it's Final Cut Pro in the sense of UI, but it's not quite Final Cut Pro in the sense of full continuity. I can do everything on one that I could do on the other.
Yeah, I think a big question is that it seems like they want you to be able to import footage, start your edit, very basic stuff on your iPad, like when you're on the bus or on the train or something, and then you get home, you plug into your Mac, and then you're able to just move over and do all the rest of the editing on a Mac. It feels like that's their main kind of idea for this.
In that direction, makes sense.
Right, but it's just, if you don't have feature parity, it just makes things really awkward.
Because if I'm doing a bunch of stuff on the Mac and I just want to get off my desk and go sit on the couch with the iPad, it might not be able to do all the things. It might not be able to import all the things that I was just working on. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, we've had other video editing apps on the iPad that are pretty decent and sort of standalone. Like we have iMovie. Actually, that's a good question. Does iMovie have feature parity between the Mac and the iPad? I don't actually know.
It's a great question.
I've not used iMovie in a long time.
I imagine you can move an iMovie project from any iPhone to iPad to Mac.
If there's no plugins or anything, I'm sure you...
I don't even know if there are iMovie plugins.
I doubt it.
But it's iMovie, it's LumaFusion, it's CapCut, it's all the others. The reason for adding Final Cut Pro to the mix is there are certain people who want Final Cut Pro stuff. And I guess on the iPad, that's just UI.
This might be a stupid question, and I realize that. But so you can ask me. So when I first think plugins on Final Cut obviously won't work on iPad, but now that we're using Apple Silicon in both, it does seem like there's potential for that to be an easier transition between the two of them.
Yes.
But then I guess we're still going between Mac OS and iPad OS. Is that where we're coming to the issue on that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think they probably rebuilt the entire app. I don't think they ported it. I'm pretty sure they just rebuilt it.
Yeah, I just wonder if, in terms of the plugins working, I guess it would have to be the people who are creating those plugins have a separate version that works at iPad OS.
Yeah, an iPad version.
It's probably easier to do, but not ready.
We should try. We have an MKBHD plugin with Motion VFX. We should try to see what the process is to make an iPad version of the plugin.
They said that did they say there will be plugins coming?
I don't think so. I think that was the one thing that I was trying to figure out from them is there are no plugins now. Is that coming? And I don't think we have an answer on that firmly.
That's also one of those questions where like I don't know which way to lean. If they haven't mentioned anything about plugins, is it we don't expect to put plugins, or it's Final Cut Pro? That's such an obvious yes. We just didn't mention it in the release.
Yeah.
Which way would you think their lead?
It's funny. Well, I'm on the page for where they released Logic and Final Cut, and I searched plug for like plugin, like did a find in page.
Nothing.
For Logic, plugin.
Well, that's all Logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like Final Cut they'd mention anything about plugins.
It is not mentioned at all.
That seems bad and annoying because the main reason that I actually kind of like Final Cut is because of all the plugins that we have through Motion VFX. I really like the MKBHD plugins that we made, specifically because it just makes it easier for us to like edit our videos.
Yeah.
And without that, there's not a lot of benefits besides like easier transcoding of like ProRes footage, and then also just the fact that it saves constantly because
That's huge.
Premiere just crashes all
Yeah,
the
I was
time.
about to say, so I was going to mention that plugins are like the second most useful thing to me about Final Cut Pro, but
Yeah.
autosave is actually going to top all of what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I'd lose a project in Premiere back in the day, and I would reopen it, and I'd cross my fingers, and it would be like 4 hours behind, and I would collapse into a puddle of tears.
Oh, yeah.
So autosave, really high on the list. It should still have that.
Wait, sorry. Does Premiere not have autosave?
It does, but it's not
now.
like constantly
It's not
updated.
constant.
Like when
Okay.
I crash out of Premiere and I reopen it, it's 3 seconds ago, whatever I was just doing.
Or Final
Which-
Cut.
Or Final Cut Pro, sorry.
I was like, damn, you want faster
No,
than
yeah.
3 seconds?
No,
I need
it's
2 microseconds.
every once in a while in Premiere, and in
Yeah.
Final Cut it's very, very often. And that can actually work against me because if I just added something to my timeline which starts bugging and Final Cut crashes and I reopen it, it
It's
will still be
saved.
on my timeline and then it'll crash really fast again.
Yeah.
So that's bite me a few times.
Yeah. For Premiere, it's like you have to go into this weird subfolder of a subfolder of a subfolder to find like your autosaves.
Yep.
And you just have to pray that maybe it decided to autosave recently. But to your point about it autosaving all the time and sometimes that screws you over, yeah, I've had it happen before where I make a catastrophic change by accident and then it crashes and I'm just screwed
Oh, you
because I
don't-
can't control Z
No.
and I have to redo the entire project and it's awful, but
That's rough.
you know, it would be nice if they would have mixed it both. Anyway,
But yeah, Final Cut, the reason we're excited about Final Cut is because I like Final Cut on the Mac. And so I wonder, is it going to be better than other video editors on the iPad? And is it going to be a nice way of continuing my edit from the Mac? Those are the two things I'm wondering going into this and that I'm going to have to try.
Continuing your edit from the Mac or starting
Or
your
starting-
edit to the Mac?
Starting the edit.
That
and
seems
then
much more
shipping it.
plausible, what David said.
Yeah, I
I'm-
feel like rough cuts with the pencil, just like chopping it up before I move it to the Mac, that might be a
I'm
way to
almost
go.
thinking of like what David said as like you're going to shoot on location, you're taking the train back. Why not use that dead time to not just like start importing to throw on the timeline to get and then bring it in? Then you don't have to like sit on the train for an hour, get home, and then sit at your computer
and the fact
while
that you
you're
can
importing.
do it with your fingers, like with your hand,
Yeah,
you can
or
just
a
sit
pencil.
on a train and you're just like
Yeah.
editing with the pencil or your hands.
It does have full pencil support. It seems like there's a couple cool things. You can use the hover feature to skim through footage and like, and then also there's a couple like accessibility features almost where there's like an extra jog wheel on the side now to scroll faster through everything.
Yeah,
So
they thought about
it does look like they're thinking about it more than just like slapping it into iPad OS and
Love that.
wishing you luck. So
Been asking for that.
There's
So-
also a drawing feature that's really cool.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
If you use the pencil, you can draw your own
On
like
video.
animations on top of the video, and it smooths it out for you too. So if you not super seamlessly draw a circle or something, but you're kind of like drawing pieces of the circle, it'll like smooth it out,
smooth out your
and make it
drawings.
feel like a smooth
And
animation.
make it a title, yeah.
It's really cool because usually you have to like find like video overlays online and like these like animated video overlays that you can put on your video. But the fact that you can just draw whatever you want.
I want to draw arrows all the time.
I was gonna
Oh
say,
yeah.
I'm putting arrows in all our videos now.
this sounds super Casey
Hand-drawn.
Neistat. Like,
Yeah, I used to
yeah.
have to do Procreate and just make it green and then draw on it and then just key out the green.
Yeah, the keying was annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't always key perfectly either if you had soft edges. Yeah. So let's talk about the price. It is $5 every month forever.
every
Not bad.
every month that you
Yeah.
pay it.
Every month that you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually don't know. Okay, so just for those who don't know, Final Cut Pro is actually kind of a bargain on the Mac. I would be willing to argue this.
It's
I think
absolutely
$500.
$300.
$300.
I think it's $299, right?
$299.
But you only pay it once, and you get unlimited licenses and unlimited updates on every Mac forever. That is a bargain.
Insanely good deal.
The amount of value we get out of Final Cut Pro on one Mac, $300, I would pay it. But we get $300 on every time I switch Macs, I get Final Cut Pro latest version and just right up to date, and it just keeps going. And I've had it for years.
Yeah.
So $300, that was awesome. This one is a subscription model.
Yeah.
And so I think the way this works is you have an iPad, you download Final Cut Pro, you subscribe. It'll be either, I think, $50 a year, or you get the first month free and it's $50 a year, or you do monthly, you get the first month free and it's $5 a month.
Is it? I assumed it was just a
little bit of a discount
if you do for
doing
straight
a
year.
year.
Yeah.
And you can pay that every single month that you use it. And I imagine you can cancel your subscription if you're going to stop using it for several months, but then maybe you need it again in December. You subscribe it again. It's $5 for the month. So more flexible, but still it's like a subscription. And now we're wondering, like, does that mean they're going to make the Mac version a subscription? Also, can I subscribe on one iPad? And then when I change over iPads, hopefully that still translates. I should have it on every iPad.
I don't think it would be possible to switch the Mac version to a subscription because people already paid. You would have to release Final Cut 11 and say everyone that has Final Cut 10 has it, but if you want 11, you want all these new AI features or whatever, then it's going to be $5 a month.
Yeah.
Because that's what Adobe did, right? Like you used to be able to buy full versions of Adobe apps.
It would be like, how much was Premiere? Probably $600, $700, something like that.
I don't know how much it cost.
Were you buying the
remember-
suites? You were buying like the CS6 suite.
I mean,
right?
there's so many versions of this, but I just remember back in college, it was like After Effects would be $700, Premiere would be $600, Photoshop would be $400, and if you wanted several of them, you could buy a suite that had like a combo of them, and it would be a very expensive suite. And so when they came out with this subscription thing, at least it wasn't thousands of dollars up front, but it now means you over time will pay more because you are paying for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Whether it's 50 or 100 or however many dollars you pay. I use Lightroom regularly. I use, we have Photoshop in the studio. Obviously, After Effects is very useful for Michael for animation. So it works out that we get our value out of it, but not everybody's going to love the subscription thing.
No, I feel like I can argue both ways for the Final Cut on iPad. In a sense, if you're, maybe taking a month where you're shooting on location somewhere and the iPad feels like it might help you out in some traveling, like, cool, I can pay $5 for 1 month and get this like really awesome tool that's going to help me. In the other sense, you spend $300 on Final Cut Pro and have it on basically unlimited Macs that you've ever used, and
you have to buy it again.
And now you have to buy it again.
There's also
you already
like
own Final Cut, which seems crazy.
Application is not exactly the most simple application. I feel like people that are using it on their iPad probably know how to use it on their Mac, and it seems weird to only be like, I only want it for 1 month for one project. If you're only using it for one project, you'd probably just use iMovie.
Right. That's what I keep picturing. Like the person who has Final Cut Pro uses it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying it more for like if that form factor for some weird scenario you're in.
Oh, I see. What you're saying.
Like that's when maybe it could be beneficial. Like on location, you're traveling for a month, or you're taking the train a bunch, or you're flying a bunch. Maybe that could be a little
you sort of
nicer.
Situationally subscribe to it for like a month or two when you need it, and
kind of like how we've talked about. Like autopilot in the past, like maybe you're taking a month where you're road tripping and you're like, if it's subscription based, then I can pay $10 for that month and I'll take the benefit, but I'm not going to pay the whole year of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Okay, clips outro. Everyone draw in the next 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
A car.
A car. Right.
5 seconds. Wait, count us down.
5.
Ready, Andrew?
I threw my marker at Ellis. Oh no. I lost. It's fine.
Ready?
Go. I'll
5.
I'll judge.
4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Marker's up.
Oh, I thought you were about to. I thought that was the countdown
I
to
was
start.
like, Marques was done, and David was
Wait,
like
I thought that
holding
was
his
the
pen
countdown
in
to
front of
start.
him.
Well, Marques clearly
Wait,
won.
give me a countdown to start.
No.
Okay, I'll do it again. All right.
Okay. 3,
Thank you.
2, 1. Start.
Thank
1.
you. This is what I want.
While they're drawing,
2,
please smash that
3,
like button and
4,
slam those comments.
5. Marker's down. Those are the cars. Was it worth it?
Judge us in
I
the
don't know.
comments. Let us know
Was
in
it
the
worth
comments.
It? Let me work
whose
it.
5-second car.
The windshields.
Yours look like it doesn't have Android Auto.
Definitely a
Yeah, it's got
car.
CarPlay.
Mine is like from 1965.
It just kind of looks like
So
a
it definitely
hat.
doesn't have Android Auto. CarPlay.
The windshield's really confusing me here.
Yeah, it's kind of a Jetsons vibe.
David's car doesn't have a windshield.
This
It
is like
does
the new
too.
Prius
Or,
windshield. The
yeah,
new Prius
something.
windshield.
It has
slopes.
it.
It does. That's the
Slopes a lot.
windshield.
Look at mine. Thanks for liking this
you
clip.
Can describe the
What is a
components-
car? What is a photo?
Well, if you're able to describe the components of something, it's the same as
That's
the thing, right?
that's not gonna.
Nobody.
Thanks for watching.
Enjoy
See you guys in the next
editing
one.
this, Adam.